up, y'all? This is Lloyd, live from Vancouver, the coolest city in the world. And you know I got soul.
Alright, Lloyd, so last album, King of Hearts, came out in 2011, so kind of bring us up to date with what you've been working on since then.
Released my last major album, King of Hearts, and then I just kind of disappeared off the grid a little bit. Went home, spent some time with my family. I was there the night before my niece was born, and then I had to leave to go to Los Angeles. I worked with the likes of Childish Gambino, who's a good friend of mine. Worked on some other artists' material, mostly other people's music. And then, as of recent, got the inspiration to start making some new music. So hopefully, within the next year, I'll be ready to finally say something more than words to the camera. But until then, I've just been really thankful and grateful and appreciative of all the experiences I've had.
Right, and King of Hearts was released on Interscope. Are you still with that situation right now?
Am I still signed to Interscope? No. I am independent and I am a free bird.
What made you kind of go on that decision to go independent?
Well, I've always been independent, naturally. I grew up with 6 brothers and sisters, so I've always had to kind of find my own way in order to have my own thing. And yeah, I just think that, you know, it's 2015 and the world doesn't depend on a major label anymore to get the message out. I think that if you have something to say and it's worth hearing, that you can do it on your own and still get a good impact. So it's a bit overrated.
Right. And just a couple years back, you released Playboy Diaries Volume 1. Just talk about that mixtape and what that was all about.
Playboy Diaries was my first stab at free music. Doing something that didn't cost the people anything to download, but cost me everything to make. I spent a few months working on that. It happened relatively fast and quick and easy. I had a lot of ideas from a lot of movies that my mom used to play for me from the 70s, a lot of what they call blaxploitation movies, like The Mac, or Petey Wheatstraw, The Devil's Son-in-Law, or Dolomite. And I just kind of drew some inspiration from some old films that I grew up watching. And I also met a very cool guy named T.K. Kirkland, who's a good friend and a comedian, and we had some ideas about some skits and just having fun. And it was really the first time I was able to make a project with no strings attached, just fun and whatever we wanted. So that's what you got with Playboy Diaries.
Cool. And you know, you mentioned that you've always kind of been independent. I always look at your single You with Lil Wayne. You kind of pushed that on your own. Didn't really have the backing, but you made it happen. So can you just kind of take me back to that single? How were you able to do that to make it a national hit?
Well, believing is half the battle. The question is, how was I able to get off my first hit song with Lil Wayne on my own without a major label backing? And first my response was believing in the song itself was half the battle. Having I guess, good friends in good places at the radio in Atlanta was a quarter of the battle, and I guess the undeniable talent of Lil Wayne on my side, and my good friends Jasper and Reese. We recorded this song in my friend Reese's garage, and I remember Hurricane Katrina happened around the same time that the song was made. The label I was signed to at the time wasn't able to release any music. I needed to work. I needed to put something out to support my family. My whole family was staying with me in my condo at the time. They were eating military meals. the shit was real. So we just basically, you know, did a few shows, saved all our money, and spent every dime to promote and market the song locally. And it took off and grew to become what everyone knows today.
And you know, with the way the music industry is working now, everyone's going independent. Do you think that type of approach that you did with that song still works in today's market?
Well, I think what's interesting about the paradigm between major labels and independent, between above ground and underground, is the real excitement and the organic following that comes with doing it yourself, that comes with superseding the radio or bypassing the system, if you will, to reach the source. The source is always the people, the souls, the ears, the hearts of the people. And sometimes without a lot of money, which is basically what a major label is, it can seem harder to actually reach a big mass of people at one time in order to create a movement, which is what a bunch of people at one time enjoying something does. It's a movement. And I think as someone who has been in the mainstream for most of his life, I started to cherish most of the underground artists that was coming out, most of the indie bands that was coming out. I was downloading albums for $1 on iTunes from these college bands, and I was really enjoying the music that they were making more than the music that the machine was turning out, because it felt more organic, it felt more reflective of the truth. And I found that to be really interesting. And I just kind of wanted to adapt some of that, you know? And a lot of my biggest heroes, my biggest influences in music and in business did it themselves and were some way, somehow self-made, just like you guys.
And just to touch up on your history a little bit, on your first album, you know, almost a decade, actually it's been over a decade since your first album. What I found really interesting with that album, it was really hip-hop driven in a time where R&B was still R&B. The two genres hadn't meshed yet. Was that your vision, or was that more of Gaudi's?
Well, thanks. Thanks, man, for reminding me of how young I am. I appreciate that, dude. No, yeah, so I guess back in back in 2000 and, 2004, when Southside came out, hip-hop and R&B was not the same category, like you said, but they shared a lot of the same energy, the same messages, the same background, if you will. I mean, we all kind of came from the same place. It's just that some of us spoke with melody, and others spoke with, you know, a different rapper's kind of tone or dialect. I'm not really sure how or why things are the way they are. I just know that the way of the world is always to evolve. It's inevitable, and I like what it's become. I'm a fan of music today. I'm not a cynicist. I don't think that music was better yesterday than it is tomorrow. I just believe that, you know, the next song is the best song, and all genres are being, you know, whited out. I think everything is being intertwined and connected now. I mean, for Christ's sakes, I'm in Vancouver. I'm from New Orleans, and I grew up in Decatur. This does not look like, or feel like, or smell like Decatur in any shape, form, or fashion. It's the other side of the country, but we all speak the same language, and we all kind of crave the same thing, which is some form of expression.
And then, of course, you came from that mid-2000s era where, you know, major labels were all trying to sign male artists. You know, everyone was coming off Usher's Confession album.
Okay.
And, you know, labels were looking to sign male artists, trying to form the next Usher. So, during that time period, did you have to deal with that with producers and record executives who were trying to turn you into that as well?
Well, yes and no. I was lucky and different because I actually started before that era. I signed to my first deal in 1997, and through making my first album as a kid, I was able to have relationships with a lot of producers and a lot of record executives in my own way. So it was never about me being modeled after someone else.
You already had your own path.
It was just about continuing to grow from where I started when I was 10. But in working with a lot of major producers, it's only natural that a producer will create a song with someone in mind initially. And on more than one occasion, I had to deal with someone saying, hey, I wrote this for such and such, but I think you could pull it off, you know. It never worked for me, but it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And then along with your singles, you've had a lot of big singles. You've also had a lot of great collaborations over the years. Just take me through what you remember about, you know, recording these songs, or, you know, just the first thing that comes to mind. The first one is Wale's Sabotage.
Wale's Sabotage. I felt like, finally some instruments.
What about Ashanti's Take Me Tonight?
Ashanti's Take Me Tonight, I felt like finally we get to record again after so many years after Southside.
Right.
Yeah.
And then of course, heard it during Soundcheck, the Ja Rule record, Where I'm From.
Oh wow. I felt like I've come quite a long way from where I started, but I'm still affected by everything that's still happening in the neighborhood.
Right.
You know, and trying to express that, yeah.
Right. And then just some of my personal favorites. The first one is Valentine.
Valentine, I thought about the Jacksons.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson meets Decatur.
Right.
Yeah.
And then two more for you. ATL Tales.
ATL Tales, I felt like Hello.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the last one is I Can Change Your Life.
I Can Change Your Life, I felt like I could change your life if you just give me about 4 and I don't know, ½ minutes of your time.
Perfect. And that's all that I got for you. Anything you'd like to add?
Well, I never say goodbye, so I always say I'll see you around, see you later, see you soon. And, you know, just always a pleasure to be here with whoever's watching.